Okay, another person, another volunteer. Let's hear from a boy, Carlos.
Ellos necesitan comida.
They need food. Darian.
The father is busy.
Okay, and one more person, Sebastian.
I need to the kids. Yo pienso que el señor que está, yo creo que su señor es su padre y puede ser que lo esté llevando al trabajo.
Ooh, nice. So guys, this word, I haven't read this book. They gave it to me in school and they told me to read it to you guys. But just by looking at the title and the picture, I'm going to make my own prediction. I think that it's going to be about, they look homeless, right? They look, if you look at the picture, they are just sitting out there in the street and there's a garbage can. They probably need job. And they're probably not in the United States, because that looks, just by looking at the way that they're dressed, it seems to me as if it's probably taking place in a different place, maybe not in this country. But let's find out right now. A day's work. Francisco stood in the parking lot with his grandfather and the other men. It was the first time he'd been there. A truck cruised along, slowed. The driver held up 3 fingers. "Brick Lane, I need 3 men," he called. 5 men jumped into the back. "Only 3, the driver said, and 2 had to get out. Ooh. So just by looking at the pictures, guys, I can see that they're probably waiting to get picked up for work. Because it says that a car just stopped by and asked 3 men, and 5 got in the back, and the driver told him, "I only need 3. So someone right here told me that they are probably looking for a job. Okay, so that was pretty close to our prediction. Let's find out what happened. The workers left in the parking lot grumbled and shuffled around. Francisco's grandfather shivered. "Hace frío," he said. Ooh, and they're speaking Spanish. So, yes. They're probably from Honduras. All right. Okay, that's a pretty good prediction. Let's find out. It is cool because it is still early. It'll be hot later. You will see, Francisco said in Spanish. Why do you bring a kid?" one of the men asked. "No one will hire you with a kid. He belongs in school." "It's Saturday," Francisco said. "My abuelo, my grandfather, does not speak English yet." Does not speak English yet. So that means that, Shayla?
He doesn't speak English.
Yet. So that means that he's in a country where they speak English. So I'm going to rearrange my prediction. They're probably here, and I'm going to say that he probably just came into the country because he said, "My grandfather does not speak English yet," which means that he'll probably learn. "It's Saturday," Francisco said. "My abuelo, my grandfather, does not speak English yet. He came to California only 2 days ago to live with my mother and me." Ooh, Francisco swallowed. "We have been alone since my father died. I am going to help my abuelo get to work." He took his grandfather's cold, rough hand and smiled up at him. Abuelo was tall and skinny as an old tree. Already Francisco loved him. When there was money to spare, they'd get him a jacket like Francisco with sleeves long enough to cover his hands, and an LA Lakers cap like Francisco's too. So they're really poor. And the abuelo just came into the country, and they're really poor. Why do I know that? Because Francisco is saying that once they have money,
They'll buy like a jacket.
they will buy a jacket for him. I like this book already.
Me too.
A van was coming. Benjamin's gardening was printed on the side. Francisco let go his grandfather's hand. He darted through the swarm of men and was right in front of the van when it stopped. "1 man," the driver said, "for gardening." He was young, with a thick black mustache, and he was wearing an LA Lakers cap like Francisco's. Maybe cleaner. It must be an omen, Francisco thought. Do you guys know what an omen is? Who knows what an omen is? What does that word, does that bring like anything? Does that ring a bell? Omen, O-M-E-N. Yes. No, actually an omen, it's like a sign. Like, it's like a sign. Like Francisco says that he was wearing a Lakers hat, and then the driver is wearing a hat. So he's like, maybe it's an omen. Maybe it's a sign that something good is going to happen.
Oh, I know what's omen.
What's an omen?
Like when they're matching, like.
Yeah, when you see a sign, for instance, you guys say, tomorrow I would like to go to the beach, and you're super excited, and you wake up and there's a hurricane. Oh, it's an omen, but maybe I shouldn't go. It can be a good sign or a bad sign, all right? Take us, Mr. Benjamin, us, Francisco pointed back to his grandfather. He tilted his own cap over his eyes. Look, we love the Lakers too, and my grandfather is a fine gardener, though he doesn't know English yet. The gardens are the same, right? Mexican and American. Oh, so he's not Hungarian and he's not from Guatemala. Where do you think that he's from?
Mexico.
Mexico. Francisco waved urgently for his grandfather to come. Also, you will get 2 for 1, he said. I don't charge for my work. The man grinned. Okay, I'm convinced, but I'm not Mr. Benjamin. Call me Ben. He motioned to Francisco. You and your grandfather jumped in the back. $60 for the day. Francisco nodded. His breath was coming fast. That much for a day's work? Mama will be so happy. Her job didn't pay that much. There would be extra food tonight, maybe chorizos. He pulled open the back door, threw in the bag of lunch Mama had packed, and hurried his grandfather into the van ahead of him. A big tough guy tried to get in. Francisco pushed him back. He was tough. He was a worker. And there's the guy trying to get inside the van as well. It is gardening, he told Abuelo as the man pulled away. But I do not know gardening. I'm a carpenter. I've always lived in the city. It is easy, Francisco waved through the window at the passing cars. Flowers, roses, things like that. He raised his cap to a lady in a car. Senora, he said politely, though she couldn't hear. The van turned off to the freeway onto a winding road and stopped. A sloping bank led out to the backyards of new houses. Some were not yet finished. Workers climbed high on the rooftops and there was a good smell of tar. The high bank was studded with pretty white flowers and overgrown white with coarse green spikes. 6 big black trash cans waited below. They all got out of the van, but Ben left the motor running. I need you to weed this bank, he told Abuelo. Be sure to get the roots. He pointed to the camps. Dump them there. Good, fine. It was Francisco who answered. I have another job to go to, Ben said. I'll pick you up at 3. It will be hot. Your grandfather will need a hat. He took a straw one from the van. Gracias, Abuelo said. See you guys then. Work hard. Have a nice day. So that's the man, and that's the garden they're supposed to fix. What do you think is gonna happen next? What do you think is gonna happen during the first day of work? You have to think about the things that we talked about before. You have to think about the abuelo had never worked in a garden before. He was a carpenter. What do you think is gonna happen, Shayla?
They're gonna plant too much flowers.
Okay.
I think when they're all done, that the man that took them there is not gonna go.
Ooh, I hope that doesn't happen. Darian.
I think after they're done, I think that's gonna give you money.
Okay. Angie.
I think the abuelo is going to mess up.
Ooh, that's a good prediction. Amy, one last one.
I think they're gonna make mistakes.
They will make mistakes. Okay, plenty of predictions. I'll ask you next, my friend. What did he say? Abuelo asked as the van drove off. He said to have a nice day. It is what everyone says up here. Your English is very good, my grandson, Abuelo said. Francisco nodded and smiled. He climbed to the bank and hung his jacket on a railing. Now, he said, I will show you. He pulled out one of the spiky clumps and shook the dirt from its roots. These are weeds. Do not touch the flowers. His grandfather smiled. Bueno, Francisco could see his strong white teeth all the way to the back. At lunchtime, he and Abuelo ate the tortillas and tomatoes and drank the bottle of water that Mama had packed. In another hour, they were finished. The bank looked so nice with just the brown dirt and the pretty flowers. Muy bonito, Abuelo said. And Francisco says, yes, it's beautiful. He and his grandfather shook hands. Francisco thought he had never felt so good. He'd helped his grandfather and he had worked himself. He sat on the curb to wait for the van. And when it came, they stood and brushed the loose dirt from their clothes. And then they're sitting, and you can see the car coming to pick them up. So they were picked up, I'm glad, because someone said that they were not gonna be picked up, and I was a little worried about that. So see, we have to change our little prediction right there. Ooh, look at that picture. What do you think is happening right there?
It might because the widow took out the roots that are.
So do you think the roots that he took out are probably were probably the good plants?
Yeah.
Javier?
I think that he's mad because he wants to fill that with the roots so it can be all grass, not all dirt.
Shayla?
I feel like he's happy because they did a good job.
Let's find out. Ben got out and stared up at the bank. Holy Toledo, he said. You didn't think we could do such a good job? Francisco wanted to laugh. Ben seemed so shocked. Francisco gave a little jump and pretended to slam the dunk ball. Like a lake